Chicago Fire Season 13 ending explained. A close call for Pascal heats up tensions. Editor's note: the following contains spoilers for the Season 13 finale of Chicago Fire. The Chicago Fire Season 13's penultimate episode, The Bad Guy, opened the door for the changes we have been anticipating for months on the show, heading into its 14th season. The shocking entry saw Pascal, Dermot Mulroney, taken in for the attempted murder of Robert Franklin, Matthew Collins, the man who inadvertently killed his wife, and potentially taking Severide, Taylor Kinney, down with him. The Bad Guy framed Pascal's exit as clearing the way for Herman, David Agenberg, to become chief of Firehouse 51, Severide and Kid, Miranda Ray Mayo, to take in Natalie, Ava Torres, and Violet, Hanako Greensmith, to potentially leave to be with Carver, Jake Lockett. The Season 13 finale, It Had to End This Way, turns all of that upside down, a legitimately surprising finale that eases the chaos heading into next year. The Chicago Fire Season 13 finale clears up the chief conundrum. The finale picks up moments after The Bad Guy, with Chief Pascal being questioned by the police. He's not under arrest yet, but there's a mountain of evidence against him and little in the way of defense. He's going to need a good lawyer. Too bad Chicago just seceded so quickly. As that proceeds, Van Meter, Tim Hopper, confronts Severide about not disclosing what he knew about Pascal and makes it clear that if Pascal goes down, he's going down with him, which his glare at the end of The Bad Guy pretty much made clear. After their respective dressing downs, Severide tells Pascal that he may have a witness in Lieutenant Vale, Phil Donlin, but it won't be enough. They need more. Severide goes to see Bishop Heath Kupferer, in prison, the former captain of the Illinois State Troopers, that Severide got put away, with a little help from Pascal. Bishop has had a change of heart about Pascal. He still loathes him, but doesn't believe he had anything to do with Franklin's accident, and believes Hendricks framed him. Severide pushes Bishop to admit he called Hendricks after being put away, and suggests that if he cooperates, Severide might be able to get him a deal. Bishop buys in and offers up the information, which Severide hopes can be used to find something that clears Pascal. There's nothing. In fact, Hendricks hasn't made a call in months, as he's dealing with cancer, which means that it's improbable he had anything to do with the incident. Pascal picks up Monica's phone, which he hasn't looked at in ages, and notices something. At the same time, Van Meter tells Severide that the case is what it is. A firefighter did the job, and Pascal was the only one with a motive. That triggers a revelation for Severide, who says that maybe they're looking at the wrong firefighter. What Pascal saw were dozens of texts to Monica, Katie Strickland, from Vale, texts which confirmed he had an obsession with her. And when confronted, Vale tells Pascal that he did what Pascal didn't have the courage to do himself: kill Franklin in retribution. The police arrive to arrest Vale, after Severide finds the evidence that clears Pascal. Chicago and Fire's Season 13 finale throws curveballs. With Pascal cleared and back at his post, that puts an end to the presumption that Herman would take over as the Firehouse 51 chief. So does he still take the chief's test and get transferred? Or is that tension between him and Pascal heating up heading into Season 14? As it turns out, neither. Herman has always been hesitant about the chief position, and the pressure to take on the responsibility isn't one he's seemed to welcome. So the fan-favorite character finally makes a definitive stand and declines to pursue the chief position. Not only that, but he's also decided to step down from the lieutenant position, taking the demotion and clearing the path for his longtime friend Mouch, Christian Stolt, to step in. It may not be the most popular, but it is the right decision for the show. Herman never wanted the responsibility. He's always made it clear he wants to be on the front lines, fighting alongside the team, rather than watching from afar. Mouch wants that responsibility. He assumed the only way to get it was for Herman to move up. But this way, he becomes a lieutenant while Herman gets what he wants. What will be interesting is how Mouch and Pascal get along moving forward, with that dynamic one to watch next season. Violet, meanwhile, gives Carver, who is back after a 2-episode absence, the letter she wrote him, which lays out her feelings for him. The next day, Violet asks why he hasn't said anything about the letter, only for him to reveal that he's leaving Chicago. There's the exit plan, having put in an application with the Denver Fire Department. It's become too hard to maintain his sobriety here, and a change of scenery is necessary for him to maintain it. Okay, so that effectively ends the relationship there. Or does it? In the closing moments, Carver shows up at Violet's door, and they share a deep kiss, throwing out "I love you" phrases like they were candy. That explains Carver's absence for next year. Still nothing about how Daniel Keary's Ritter exits the show, but does strengthen the possibility of Violet going with him. That leaves Kid and Natalie. It seemed like a foregone conclusion that Kid and Severide would be taking Natalie in at the end of The Bad Guy. But it had to end this way puts a fascinating spin on that. Natalie's sister Julia, Erica Mendez, never wanted to abandon her sister, but the weight of trying to raise Natalie while keeping her own life on track is simply too much. Kid assures Julia that her intent was never to take Natalie away from her. Cue the curveball, as Kid doesn't just offer to take Natalie in, but Julia as well, bringing the number of people in the home from 2 to 5. No, it's not bad math. One narrative that will be a primary focus in Chicago Fire Season 14 is that 5th, with the news that a Stellaride baby is coming. Not only is that exciting news, but it also means that next fall we'll see 2 of the One Chicago shows have a pregnancy storyline, the other being Dr. Asher's Jesse Schramm on Chicago Med. Step it up, Burzek. The flames in Firehouse 51 are the only thing burning. In the latest episode of Chicago Fire, Lieutenant Pascal Rains, relatively new to the firehouse, found herself at the center of a life-threatening rescue gone wrong that left the entire squad rattled, reignited rivalries, and brought long-buried emotions to the surface. It began with a standard call, a 2-car accident on Lakeshore Drive. The report was routine: 1 vehicle flipped, passengers trapped, minor fire risk. But nothing is ever routine in Chicago. When Squad 3 arrived, it was clear something was off. A tanker truck leaking fuel sat too close to the flipped SUV. And the trapped driver wasn't just anyone. It was a pregnant woman, barely conscious, the air thick with fumes. Pascal, ever determined to prove herself, moved in faster than expected. She didn't wait for full clearance. "We don't have time," she said, shouldering past Gallo and Ritter. She moved in, unflinching under the growl of the approaching flames. "Pascal, pull back," Severide barked through the radio. But she was already halfway in the wreckage, her breathing shallow under the weight of her gear and the heat. In a stunning sequence that had fans on edge, Pascal managed to cut the woman free just seconds before the leaking gas caught fire. She emerged, coughing and disoriented, as Severide and crews pulled her and the victim to safety. Seconds later, the SUV exploded in a fiery blast that sent debris scattering. It was a rescue worthy of headlines, but inside Firehouse 51, the mood was far from celebratory. The fallout. Back at the house, the mood turned tense. Severide, usually calm under pressure, let his frustration show in front of the whole squad. "You disobeyed protocol. That was reckless. You could have died and taken her with you."